They said a CEO should always be the last to arrive and the first to leave. But when she stepped into her own building and realized no one cared enough to greet her, something inside her finally snapped. 2 minutes later, she made a decision that would shake the entire business world and change her life forever. The morning was unusually quiet as Mira Hale, CEO of Hale Tech Industries, walked through the towering glass doors of her company headquarters. She had spent the past 14 years building this empire from a tiny co-working space into one of the fastest growing tech brands in the world. Once, people used to cheer when she entered a room. Today, not a single soul stood waiting. Mira arrived 10 minutes early for the quarterly board meeting, hoping, perhaps foolishly, that this time things would be different. That maybe the board members would actually acknowledge her efforts, show up on time, or at least pretend they respected her. But the conference room was empty. Not a chair pulled out. Not a notebook placed. Not a face in sight. A familiar heaviness pulled at her chest, but she forced herself to breathe slowly. This wasn't the first time. In the last year alone, they had made her wait at least 7 times. It wasn't random. It was intentional. A power tactic. A way of reminding her that although she founded the company, they controlled the decisions. She stared at the long marble table, remembering how excited she'd once been to hold meetings here. Now it felt like a battlefield where she fought a daily war, alone. 2 minutes passed. Then 3. Then 5. Still no one. She sat down, interlocking her fingers to keep them from shaking. She thought of the sacrifices she had made, the nights she slept on the office couch, the birthdays she missed, the friendships that faded because she was always working. She had given everything to Hale Tech, yet the people she trusted most were slowly pushing her out of her own company. The board members finally arrived, laughing loudly among themselves, not even glancing in her direction. One of them, Royce Bennett, placed his coffee cup on the table like he owned the place. He didn't even apologize. "Sorry we're late," he said casually. "Traffic." She knew he lived 5 minutes away. Mira inhaled, steady and deep. Something inside her shifted. Not anger, not hurt. Something calmer, clearer. It was the moment a person stops begging for respect and starts demanding it. "Before we begin," she said quietly, "I have an announcement." They barely looked up. She placed a small stack of folders in the center of the table. "You're all fired." Silence exploded in the room. The board froze, unsure whether she was joking. Mira stood tall, the morning sunlight catching on the silver edge of her bracelet. The same bracelet she wore the first day she founded the company. "You made me wait in a company I built," she continued, her voice steady. "You undervalued my work, sabotaged my decisions, and disrespected my time. Effective immediately, your contracts are terminated. Remove your belongings. You have 10 minutes. Their shock turned into frantic disbelief. "You can't do this," Royce barked. "This is illegal," another protested. "You'll destroy the company," someone else shouted. Mira only smiled softly, the calmest she had felt in years. "No," she said, "you would have destroyed it. I'm just saving what's left." Security stepped forward on cue, her loyal staff, the ones who saw her struggle and refused to let her fall. One by one, the board members were escorted out, their protests echoing uselessly against the glass walls. When the last door closed behind them, the conference room returned to silence. Mira stood alone, not because she was abandoned, but because she had chosen herself for the first time in a long time. And everything was about to change. The next morning, Hale Tech was buzzing with rumors. Employees gathered in small circles, whispering, their eyes darting toward Mira's office. Some were afraid, some were excited, some were simply stunned. But Mira had no time for panic. She had a company to rebuild. She called an all-staff meeting in the atrium. Hundreds of employees filled the space, unsure of what to expect. Mira stepped on stage wearing simple navy blue attire and no makeup. She wanted them to see her as a human being, not a corporate figure. "I know many of you heard what happened yesterday," she began. "And yes, it's true, I let the board go." Gasps rippled through the crowd. I did it because this company lost its heart. When leaders stop respecting the people who give everything, this place stops being a workplace and becomes a prison. I won't allow that. The employees watched her with wide eyes. Some had tears forming, recognizing their own struggles in her words. For too long, she continued, our culture has rewarded pressure, fear, and silence. Not anymore. Today marks a new beginning, not just for Hale Tech, but for everyone who has ever felt unseen or unheard. A single clap broke the silence. Then another. Then dozens. Then the whole room. The applause thundered like a storm. Mira's throat tightened, but she held steady. She wasn't done yet. We're restructuring, she said. Not to punish, but to rebuild. I'll be forming a new advisory team, one built from people who work on the ground, not from those who sit on top. People who understand this company, who feel its pulse. The employees began looking around at each other, hope glowing in their faces. And there's one more thing, she said. From this day forward, no employee will ever wait outside a door to be heard. If you have an idea, a concern, or even a small suggestion, you bring it directly to me or to your new team leaders. This company will rise again, but only if it rises with all of us. The room erupted. The applause felt endless. Some employees were crying openly now. Mira felt her own eyes burning, but she let the moment wash over her. After the meeting, people lined up to thank her, to shake her hand, to tell her they believed in her. It was overwhelming, but it was also healing. For the first time in years, she felt like she wasn't carrying everything alone. Weeks passed. Then the incredible. The company transformed. Teams communicated openly. Productivity soared. The toxic atmosphere dissolved like fog in sunlight. Investors began returning, impressed by the newfound transparency and employee-driven leadership. A competitor even attempted to hire Mira away, offering her a blank check salary, but she refused. Hale Tech was her home, her legacy. One evening, long after everyone had left, Mira stood alone in the same conference room where the board once made her feel small. Her promise to the world now felt different, warm, filled with possibility. She looked at her reflection in the glass wall. You waited for them, she whispered to herself. Now the world is waiting for you. And she walked out, not as the CEO they doubted, but as the leader she was born to be.
Sometimes life won't wait for you. Sometimes people will underestimate you, ignore you, or try to control your worth. But the moment you stop waiting for their validation is the moment you take back your power. Mira didn't rise because she was fearless. She rose because she finally realized she deserved better. And so do you.